where they love women and love liquor. We're enough liquor, hey, you making love quicker, now you waking up bitter.
Hello, and welcome. I just want to take a second to send a special blessing and prayer out to the families who are recovering from the natural disasters that took place all around the world in recent months. And just ask God's blessing to be upon the families and their offspring going forward. I also want to take a second to welcome you to this very important infomercial to let you in on a new show that's coming your way, dealing with some of the most sensational and provocative stories that are going on around the world. And it's titled Outside the Box. And we'll be dealing with the world at large in the areas of faith, race, sports, as you can see going on behind me. Don't worry, we'll talk about your team too. And also politics. And just to mention a few of the subtopics that we'll be dealing with, we'll deal with what's destroying the fabric of pro sports. Why are we attempting to compare today's challenges and issues with the challenges of the 50s, 60s, and 70s? Republicans or Democrats, a separation of church and state. And God forbid we talk about politics and religion in the same conversation. What's the roles of husbands and wives in the marriage? The challenges of single family homes? What single moms are dealing with and what effect it's having on their lives? The problems that are destroying the inner city or the inner community and law enforcement's interaction with the inner city, and the demise of the educational system. And as we embark on this journey, we'll begin to ask questions of each other. Some of you will become inspired. Some of you will fall on your face in prayer if you haven't done so already. Some of you will look in the mirror and maybe feel a sense of conviction. But there's no doubt in my mind that many of you will become restless and disturbed with some of the things that you're going to hear right here on Outside the Box. And part of that has to do with we're not promoting selfism here on this show or the separatism that you see coming from all sides. And when I say all sides, I mean all sides in society today. We're supposed to be coming together to commit to something very special in this world and in this country, just dealing with our country. And it's important that we step outside the box of where we come from or what we've been about our whole lives, to step into seeing things with our spiritual eye, and to step away from the humanistic, fleshly realm that we seem to live in, or what the community tells us how we should be feeling, to reach across the cultures of other people that don't look like us, that don't sound like us, that don't come from the same background we come from, and become uncomfortable trying to commit to doing something positive. Because that's where the most growth happens, is when we commit to sometimes an uncomfortable situation to produce something very positive and powerful. When Jesus met the Samaritan woman at the well in the book of John chapter 4 in the Bible, he knew that Jewish people and Samaritan people didn't come together, and that it was unheard of. It was even more uncomfortable for the Samaritan woman who met him at the well, who felt uncomfortable. But Christ knew, as he did on so many occasions while walking the earth, that it was important for him to step outside the box of his norm, or the people who come from his background, or the Jewish culture, to reach across barriers and color lines and boundaries, to do something very positive that was going to affect the lives of his disciples going forward, and really affect the world at large going forward. You can take two very interesting events right now that have us separating ourselves from each other. Very divisive situations that have taken place in society. And that's the chronicles of Colin Kaepernick and his life, and the things that have gone on with him, and how his kneeling has affected the rest of the country, and the monuments that have been torn down in the United States across the country. And we'll dive very, very deep into these areas as we go forward on this cast, and peel back the layers of some things and address some things together. But just on the surface, do you think it's a mistake that these things are taking place right now in society at this time in our country? No, not at all. But I encourage you to look at yourself. It's important for us to look inside ourselves and look in the mirror and find out, why is this affecting me the way it is? How do I feel? How am I responding to these things that are taking place? What is my interaction with the people around me? How is it affecting my speech and the content that comes out of my mouth, or my actions for that matter? I'm actually very happy now. In retrospect, now that I look back on what took place and the fact that Colin knelt down and did everything he did and the impact that it's had on the country at large, I'm thankful. Thank you, Colin. Thank you for making me think even deeper. Because I'm taking it that many other blacks who are maybe not speaking publicly about it are doing maybe some of the things that I'm doing. And I can only speak for the black individuals that may come from my background, maybe come from the inner city or from the urban community. And I'm sure many of us are really looking at the real issues and are looking for true, definitive change in the society. And if you're thinking deeper than the surface or what the news is telling you to believe, then you're looking at 266 black babies aborted by Planned Parenthood every day in this country. How many other inner city families or black community members are looking for self-soothing religions or false gods to help them find their self-worth. Or how the downplay of the bloodshed that takes place in the inner city is just okay, or we moderately deal with it because the races of people taking the lives and the lives taken are the same race. But we play it up very strongly when the race of the person taking the life is a different color or a different race or a different background. The staggering numbers is the 97% of black on black crimes that are committed against each other and the lives that are taken, and the less than 2% of law enforcement officers that are taking the lives of black unarmed men in this country. But it really, really blessed me. It really blessed me to see a silver lining. And that's that something that is looking to bring people together. And that was the Cleveland Browns locking arms at the football game a couple of weeks ago with law enforcement officers and military officials, and saying, yes, we're grateful for the privileges we share, not individually, but collectively in this country, the privileges that we share as Americans. And this topic and so many other topics are going to be significant in going forward. We're going to address a lot of these things. We're going to dialogue with you on them. And we're going to talk about solutions together. And we're going to talk about seeing God's purpose in what he's showing us taking place in the community, on the media side, and around the country. And we want to focus very closely on the box of our traditional structures on this cast and the euphemisms we hear all the time about how we should think. And we want to deal and discuss the importance of multiple bodies of people coming together under God's umbrella to bring out each other's God-given ability. And we're going to have fun with it. We're going to address these things in multiple facets, multiple areas, and we're going to use various forms of entertainment to do so. So I encourage you to step outside the box. Come along with us. I'm Ation, signing off.